Inventory pick transactions can be manually entered via the Material Cards tab or via the shop floor data collection system. Either approach works well if you want employees to dynamically log inventory picks as they occur during the course of a job. ShopPAK gives you a third choice as well: automatic inventory pick generation. If work orders have an accurate bill of materials, you can have ShopPAK automatically generate anticipated inventory pick transactions from the list of materials. Pick transaction generation is triggered by a change in work order status. You select the work order status that best coincides with when materials are normally picked from inventory. The advantage of the automatic approach is it eliminates the need to manually log inventory picks, which saves time and streamlines the process. The disadvantage, however, is it only works if you have a very accurate bill of materials. The other downside is inventory material job costs tend to spike at one time as a batch, instead of mirror actual material usage over the course of a job. The auto-pick option is driven by the inventory materials found on the Work Order Materials sub-tab. Whether the material is used for fabrication or is shipped as a standalone item also plays a role in configuring auto-pick generation. The pick transaction quantity is taken from the Work Order Materials grid quantity. To configure auto-pick behavior, choose the Define menu and select ShopPAK Options. Click the Job Costing tab. Place a check into auto-pick inventory on status change. Next, decide if you want fabrication-oriented materials automatically picked, and similarly, if you also want shipping-oriented items automatically picked. Click the Select Work Order Status button to identify which status values you want to act as a trigger. If Include Fabrication Items is checked, you must select at least one fabrication trigger status. The same rule applies to ship items. Last, decide if you want to manually approve the generated pick transactions, or if you want ShopPAK to automatically approve them. If you choose Manually Approve, all generated pick transactions remain in an unapproved status. This allows someone to visually inspect the generated transactions prior to manually approving them via the Materials Card tab. If you decide to have ShopPAK automatically approve the generated pick transactions, it only approves successful transactions. If the auto-pick routine detects a problem, the transaction is still generated. However, it will be left in an unapproved status. Once you resolve the problem, simply approve the transaction via the Materials Card tab. There are 3 reasons why generated pick transactions don't get automatically approved. 1. There's insufficient on-hand stock to meet the pick quantity. 2. Multiple locations exist for a given inventory item. Auto-pick generation only works for inventory items stored at one physical location. Or 3. The user that generated an auto-pick doesn't have the security level to approve material cards. If the user lacks approval rights, pick transactions are still generated, but they remain in an unapproved status. The employee that triggers an auto-pick by changing work order status must have Submits Daily Time Card checked on their employee form. Since auto-pick generation ties the generated pick transactions back to the employee that triggered the auto-pick generation, you won't see the generated pick transactions on the Materials tab unless the employee is set up to submit daily time cards. Invoking the auto-pick transaction routine is simple. Just change the work order status to a value defined as triggering auto-pick. ShopPAK displays a dialog box that alerts you that you've requested auto-pick for this work order and asks if you want to proceed or not. Click Proceed to continue, or exit to cancel auto-pick generation. Work order status is updated regardless of whether you proceed or cancel auto-pick generation. If you want to launch auto-pick generation at a later time, simply change work order status back to the trigger value again. Note: once you auto AutoPick for a work order, it will never be run again, even if you change the status to the trigger status. If you proceed with the AutoPick request, ShopPAK displays a progress meter. Once completed, ShopPAK displays a status message with transaction counts. After clicking OK, ShopPAK generates and displays the AutoPick batch status list report that gives you a detailed accounting of the generated pick transactions. The report can be printed or saved as a PDF for future reference or simply previewed and deleted. During AutoPick generation, ShopPAK records status information in each transaction's notes. If there's a problem, the reason for the failure is described in the notes. ShopPAK updates the material card form with all of the generated pick transactions. Any transaction that generated an error will be available here so it can be reapproved once the problem has been resolved.